6,000 gang members and 15,000 folks walk through our doors every year trying to get a holiday, get a job, or get their tattoos removed. We have 3 laser machines, 12 doctors, a dedicated clinic, 4,000 laser treatments a year. And that was just born because a guy named Frank showed up one day, 2 days out of Corcoran State Prison, and he came right into my office. And pardon my French, but on his forehead it said, "Fuck the world." From here to here to here to here, like a billboard. And he said, "I'm having a hard time finding a job." I kept imagining, do you want fries with that? Not the fries. So I went in search of a doctor who would remove Frank's angriest moment in his life. And now no place on the planet Earth removes more tattoos than we do. We have mental health counseling and case managers and what else do we have? Every imaginable curricular thing from NAAA to grief and loss and anger management and parenting and domestic violence. You name anything that might help some gang member who wants to redirect his or her life, and we do it. And then we have all our businesses now: Homeboy Bakery, Homeboy Silkscreen, Homeboy Homegirl Merchandise, solar panel installation training program. We're in all these farmers markets where we sell all our products. And Homegirl Cafe, where women with records, young ladies from rival gangs, waitresses with attitude, they'll gladly take your order. They cater. It's gourmet food. It's a place to be seen, too. The Oscar-winning actress Diane Keaton, movie star, won an Academy Award for Annie Hall, and she was in all the Godfather movies, married to Al Pacino in the Godfather movies. Anyway, she shows up for lunch one day. She comes with a regular, a guy who's been there, who's there once a week. And her waitress's date is a woman named Glinda. And Glinda doesn't, Glinda's a homegirl, been there, done that, tattooed, been to prison, parolee, felon. She doesn't know who Diane Keaton is. So she's taking her order, and Diane Keaton says, "Well, what do you recommend?" And Glinda rattles off 3 of the platillos that she really likes a lot. And Diane Keaton says, "Well, I'll have that second one there." And then something dawns on Glinda. She looks at Diane Keaton. She says, "Wait a minute, I feel like, I don't know, like I know you or something, or like we've met somewhere." And Diane Keaton sort of decides to deflect it kind of humbly. "Oh gosh, I don't know, I suppose I have one of those faces that people think they've seen before." And Glinda goes, "No, now I know. We were locked up together." I'll tell you, that just took my breath away. And suddenly kinship so quickly, householding actress, attitudinal waitress. It's exactly what God had in mind. All of us are called to become what Alice Miller, the late child psychologist, calls enlightened witnesses. People who, through your kindness and tenderness and focused, attentive love, return people to themselves, especially folks on the margins. You don't hold the bar up and ask anybody to measure up. You just show up and you hold the mirror up and you say, "Here's your truth. My truth is your truth. Your truth is any gang member's truth. And here's the truth. You are exactly what God had in mind when God made you." And then you watch as people on the margins become this truth, inhabit this truth. And no bullet can pierce that. And no 4 prison walls can keep that out. And death can't touch it because it's really that huge. But sometimes you have to reach in and dismantle messages of shame and disgrace. All throughout history in Scripture, the principal suffering of the poor is shame and disgrace. I'm in 25 different detention facilities where I do Catholic services on a rotating basis. And I'm juvenile halls, probation camps, youth authorities. And they're usually far out, they're kind of like retirado. And a typical Saturday is I'll do 2 masses early in the morning. And then I race back because I've lived in the barrio for 25 years, so I know everybody. So I get asked to do stuff, and so it begins. 1 o'clock, baptism, and 2 o'clock wedding, and 3 o'clock quinceañera, and 4 o'clock exorcism, you know, and just checking to see if you're still listening. I have no other way of knowing. I've never done one of those. But anyway, so I raced home one day, and I had 20 minutes to 1 before my baptism, and so I raced over to my office, or in the early days, one of my first offices, with this, we're in our 4th at the moment. But so I'm going through my mail, contento, feliz. And I'm not there very long when all of a sudden a woman barges in through the front door. I find out her name is Lisa. She's 34 years old. This is the very first time she's ever decided to walk into my office. I've seen her around, everybody's seen her. She's kind of well known. Prostitute, heroin addict, street person, gang member, felon, parolee. She's kind of a famous gritona. She's always screaming at people. She'll scream at the guy next door in the bar who tosses her out. You'll always catch her on a payphone screaming, "Just let me stay tonight," pleading with family members or friends. And this is the first time she's chosen to walk into my office. And now it's 7 minutes to 1. And she rushes right in, she sits down, she launches right in. "I need help," she says. "Oh, I've been to like 50 rehabs. I'm known all over, nationwide. I went to Catholic schools all my life," she says. "Graduated from elementary. I even graduated from Sacred Heart High School in Lincoln Heights." And then she gets quiet and still. And she says, "In fact, right after graduation was the first time I ever used heroin. And I've been trying to stop since the moment I began." And I watched as she leaned her head on the wall behind her, and her eyes became like 2 ponds, water rising to meet its edges and spilling over. And she cried and she cried, until she looked at me and she leveled her gaze at me and she says with great deliberation, "I am a disgrace." And suddenly her shame meets mine. Because when I had seen her walk into my office that afternoon, I had mistaken her for an interruption. And suddenly kinship so quickly, it's mutual. There's an idea that's taken root in the world. It's at the root of all that's wrong with it. And the idea would be this, that there just might be lives out there that matter less than other lives. And we stand against that idea. It's Christmas time, and one of my favorite Christmas carols is "O Holy Night." I remember even as a kid there was a mantra in it. "Oh, along lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth." And yeah, it's about Jesus, and yeah, it's about Christmas. But how is it not the job description of everybody in this room this evening? It's about you appearing, and the soul feels its worth because you chose to do so. Simple as that. A homie who was most reluctant to accept any of my help was a guy named Bandit, who I've known for a long time, grew up in Aliso Village, into his barrio, into selling crack cocaine, didn't want to have too much to do with Homeboy Industries. Until 15 years ago, he shows up in my office. Y ese milagro, I couldn't believe he was there. And he said what homies often say, "I'm tired of being tired." So I walked him over to one of our 4 job developers, and as luck would have it, they located entry-level, unskilled, low-pay, warehouse, first kind of job. Now cut to today, 15 years later, and a Bandit is el mero chingon of the whole warehouse. You know, he runs the whole damn place. He's the head supervisor. He's married, he has 3 kids, owns his own home. And I hadn't heard from him in a couple of years, and no news is usually good news with homies, but he calls me one day on a Friday afternoon, kind of breathless and medio paniqueado, you know. And he says, "Gee, you gotta bless my daughter." "¿Qué pasó, mijo? Is she sick? Is she in the hospital?" Oh, no. On Sunday, she's going to Humboldt College. Imagine my oldest, my Jessica, she's going to college, but she's a little chaparrita, and we're afraid for her. That's far, you know where Humboldt is, that's far. And she's moving away, so do you think you could give her a blessing or something, you know? And I said, sure, why don't you come to the church tomorrow? Say 12:30, you know, I've got an exorcism at 1, and we're going to send off, you know? And so sure enough, right at 12:30 they show up. And I said, well, let's stand in front of the altar. Let's put her right in front. Let's surround her with our bodies and our love. Everybody connect to her. Touch her. Put your hands on her shoulders. Grab her arms. Put your hands on her head. Bow your heads, I tell them, and close your eyes. And as the homies say, I do a long-ass prayer. I go on and on. And somewhere in the middle of this prayer, I noticed that we've all become chillones, you know, everybody's sniffling, you know, and everybody's crying. I don't know why we're crying, except for the fact that Bandit and his wife don't know anybody who's ever gone to college except me. Certainly nobody in their family. So, you know, I wipe the tears and we kind of laugh about how mushy we got, you know, and then to change the subject, you know, I asked Jessica, so, what are you going to study at Humboldt College? She was very quick. Forensic psychology. Oh, damn, forensic psychology. And it chimes in, yeah, she wants to study the criminal mind. And Jessica, very deadpan, she turns and looks at her father and she does one of these, you know. And he sees her, yeah, I'm going to be her first subject. So we walk up to the car and big abrazos. And they get in, pile in the car, but Bandit hangs back, and I said, Mijo, can I tell you something? I give you credit for the man you've chosen to become, for choosing to walk in your own footsteps. I'm proud of you. And his eyes well up with tears, and he has a hard time beginning to speak, and he says, ¿Sabes qué? I'm proud of myself. All my life, people called me a lowlife. Bueno para nada. I guess I showed them. I said, hell yeah, I guess you did. And the soul feels its worth. Exactly what God had in mind. I'm going to tell one more story, and then we'll do question and answers, and I'll invite Lorenzo.